Would I be the jerk if I chose opportunity over my church? I, 20F, have played cello since I was in 6th grade. I am generally good at it to say the least, but average since I'm better at academics and art than playing my cello. My parents are very religious, and we live in a town a little bit away from a city. 'Cause of some stupid reasons, I am the only cello still willing to work at our church. I get played, but I only get paid $12 for a 3 sometimes 4-hour performance. While I was practicing some art, my friend, 21M, called me and said that a new place in our town was opening up and they needed a second teacher for the cello classes. I immediately went over and have been working there for a little over a month. While there, the small school's principal managed to get my class a place in an orchestra concert in the city. It wasn't in the center, just at the edge, but my students were really excited. When we arrived, I played with my students a little bit for practice. The concert had went really well and I really enjoyed it. Due to this, a man around 40 had walked up to me after the concert. He said he had heard me playing with my students and asked if I could play in a huge orchestra in around the center of the city. I was really interested since this could get good opportunities in both art and cello. There is a bit of problem though. My parents had asked me before if I could play at my church on the same day of the concert and at an uncomfortable amount of time gap. I didn't agree to it and said I would think about it. But now I really am concerned. I care about my parents and I enjoy my church. But I will get good opportunities at the big concert and they are willing to pay me $20 an hour if I play and help set up. The problem with the church concert is that it will be 3 hours long and they actually are only going to pay me $15 for setting up and playing the 3 hours, which I am not very comfortable with. So, would I be the jerk if I chose an opportunity over my church? TLDR, I got a good opportunity to play in a concert in around the center of the city. But on the same day is my church's concert. The concert is willing to pay $20 an hour for my troubles, while my church is going to only pay me $15 for setting up and playing the 3 hours. Quick announcement, would I be the jerk if I chose an opportunity over my church? I just have to say wow. I know it's only been a couple hours, but I just have to thank you all for the advice. I have constantly been looking through your comments and I may reply to some. Not all, but definitely at least 10. So thank you for your support. Edit, I'm going to tell them. I don't know how they will react, but I am. The concert is on Sunday, so this will be kinda in advance. I really do feel bad about it though. Update 1. Would I be the jerk if I chose an opportunity over my church? A couple hours earlier I told my parents. To say my mom was angry was an understatement. She yelled and screamed at me that she had already told the church that I was going to play at the church, and they needed me there. I reminded her about what I said before when she asked. When my mom figured out I wasn't going to change my mind, she threatened to take my devices. Like seriously? I pay for them. I reminded her that. But she didn't care. She continued screaming until she reached my room and started grabbing my phone, art tablet, laptop, PS5, everything. While doing so, my dad joined in on my mom's side and told me I was making them look bad to the church. Before she even walked out the room, I started calling my dad's parents, telling them what's going on. While my mom was still screaming and yelling while taking my stuff into her room, telling me I'm not getting them back until our next concert, which was literally a week away. My paternal grandfather entered our house with his spare key and started screaming and my mom to put my stuff back in my room before he takes her phone. My mother, being the always scared of my grandfather person that she is, she put all my stuff in my room, but before she could, he told her to put my stuff in his truck, which she had to do all by herself. My dad was forced to apologize to me, and then my mother. It was obviously one half-hearted, but I was just pleased they were forced to apologize. I am currently at my grandparents' place, And the reason this happened so late is 'cause I went on a shopping spree with my grandmother and her friends. They are the sweetest ladies ever. And I had a lot of fun. I even able to buy another music piece. It's a little simple for my liking, but I like the beat. Just a quick update. We just got back and my grandparents are downstairs drinking and stuff, talking about their youthful days. My grandfather said feel free to take his truck to a friend's place. So I'm about to do that after the post. Thanks for the support from the last post, everyone. Thank you. Update 2. Would I be the jerk if I chose an opportunity over my church? My parents are insane. A lot has happened, so bear with me. The day after my post I got a call for the man I the opportunity with. He sounded pissed. He asked if I was a minor. But first I asked how he got my number. He told me he got a call from my parents saying that I am a minor and as their guardian it will not allow me to play in the orchestra. As a side note, I am 20F, but due to genetics I look like around 16 to 17. I told him I am not a minor, but he seemed to believe my parents over me, and he sent me a screenshot of my birth certificate. Those crazy people gave them a fake certificate that made it look like I was 16. He said due to no minors being allowed in the orchestra, my seat will be removed only if I can verify if I am not a minor. I tried to convince him with my ID, but he said that my parents told him I would show them a fake ID and I will be getting removed from the orchestra, and he hung up. Me, in tears, told my grandparents and they were not happy. Especially my grandmother. Another side note, my grandmother's mother was a cello player, but due to an accident she died when she was 29. So to find out I couldn't play my instrument anymore in this orchestra, she was beyond to the point she actually drived. My grandmother rarely drives. After the drive my grandmother had a screaming match with both my parents while my grandfather went to the place of the orchestra to get me verified for my seat again. I was a mess the whole way. We managed after 3 hours to get me verified, but by then when we got back my grandmother was chewing out my dad and mom while they sat quietly. The next day was the most satisfying thing I've ever felt. I found out my parents will be taking me out their will. The will that my grandparents practically control since my grandparents pay half their bills. A couple minutes after, my grandparents called them and them that if they take me out their will, they will remove my dad out their will and give all the assets to me, including the will they were already planning to give me, which was already a lump sum of money and some rent houses they own. My parents are trying to hold their ground, but a couple hours later they said they will also not be paying the bills they have been paying. Then finally, after those 2 threats, they are still trying to hold their ground. My grandparents have 2 other children, both daughters and older than my father, so I'm not surprised if they instead give them the assets instead of me. My father called me 2 hours ago and called me a failure to my family and their church. Personally, I thought that would hurt. But I didn't feel much. More like relief. I felt so relieved. I never felt this way before and I might actually ask them to disown me. I'm sick and tired of their trash and how many things I have done for that church and still be underpaid. Hopefully this will be my last update, but ask questions in the comments and I may answer. I just want to get this behind me. Update 3. Would I be the jerk if I chose an opportunity? Well, hello everyone, 13 days since my last update. So I think you guys can guess why I am back. My parents did something, multiple somethings. Okay. So, first up, my mom managed to guilt trip my grandmother into giving her another month of free bills being paid. Great. But also 5 days after I posted my last update, I got called to my church by my pastor and bishop. They tried to convince me to still play at the church since according to them, since there is a gap between the church and opportunity concert, I could just play in both. They promised that they would pay me an extra $4 for the help. I was about to start laughing truly. $4? That is insanity. I said I would do it. if they told me why the cello players of my church started leaving. They tried to do the same, saying they always do, but I made the bishop cave. Back before I had actually started playing in the orchestra. The bishop had tried to steal all the cellos and sell them to buy an engagement ring for his girlfriend. He managed to sell some of the cellos. But he was caught by one of the cello players when loading their cello into the back of his truck. The cello players, who got their cellos sold, sued the church, but the bishop bought them new cellos. The bishop thought that they would continue playing in the orchestra. But all the cello players whose cellos got sold left the church. The some who didn't get their cellos sold stayed. But 8 out of the 10 cello players, not including me, left the church. I immediately left. I wasn't actually going to play for them. I just wanted the truth. And I have officially left the church. But there is something else that my parents did. Me and my grandparents went out for some ice cream for a congratulations party for one of their friends' kids. We had a blast. But when we got back, we saw some people hauling my instruments out of my room inside my grandparents' house. I play multiple instruments, BTW, all bass clef. The second they saw our car, they started stuffing all of the instruments they could in their tiny Toyota and sped off. They practically took all of my instruments, including my cello. I still don't have them back. But luckily my grandmother let me use her mother's cello. And when I say it was beautiful, it was beautiful. It was made of redwood trees, and it just was so perfectly crafted I felt like I was touching a piece of history. Which I was. I figured out by my grandmother it was made by my great-ex-grandfather for his daughter. And no one else has touched it other than my great-grandmother. I really do love it. It is beautiful, but sadly I had to give it back to grandmother after the concert. Oh. The concert went great. I met some really nice people, and even the person sitting next to me was an old friend from middle school. He took up viola and left bass. He actually is way better at the viola than back then on the bass. I even got invitations from multiple conductors and auditorium directors. I'm still looking though, and my grandparents are helping me decide. But that's how my 13 days were. We're going on a trip to Asia to celebrate. I am really excited.